What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another TrueGameData video. I've got a really good video for you today. We're going to be going through some really advanced analysis of the new EM2. I think it's one of the best guns in the game, and I'll show you why through all the different stats and TTK charts and damage per mag and everything. But first, right after this video goes live, I'm going to be streaming over at twitch.tv/TrueGameData Live. I'm doing a tournament first this morning, small tournament from one of my friends, and then directly after that, we're going to be doing charity stream all day. We're going to be supporting Direct Relief, which is a charity that just does all kinds of things around the world. Really good organization, charity organization, and I do a lot with COVID-19. I felt like everybody's gone through that in the last year and a half, and a lot of people need help. A lot of people lost their jobs, so we're going to be supporting that. We've got a goal of $15,000 for the charity stream. I'll pretty much be streaming all day for that. We've got like 30 other streamers that are participating as well. So it's a huge group. We're just trying to raise as much money as possible. It should be a really good time, so be sure to come over there and help out and support that cause. First, we've got to go through a sponsored segment. This video is sponsored by Legionfarm, so we'll go through that, and then we'll jump into the advanced EM2 analysis. Today's video is sponsored by Legionfarm. So Legionfarm is an esports coaching website. Basically, they have two games right now. They have Warzone, they have Apex Legends. Obviously, we're going to focus on Warzone. So this is our website here in the background. It's pretty simple. You just come on here and you can find a pro to play with, and all these pros are just incredible players. 6.5 KD, 21% win rate, 5.35 KD, 45% win rate. Super simple. You just pick your pro. They have three different options. You can do coaching, fun, or result. Obviously, coaching is going to be dedicated to the pro that you're playing with. It's going to be trying to teach you how to improve, teach you everything they know about the game. Fun is just going to be dedicated to, having a good time playing. Obviously, I mean, that's what it would be considered, just being fun. You can play however you want with fun. Just talk to your pro and see what they want to do, see what you want to do, and do whatever you want. And then result, obviously, is playing for the win, basically. So they're going to be doing everything they can to win you the game. And in doing that, you're obviously also going to learn a ton about just how to play the game in general. So I can speak from personal experience that playing with people who are the best at what they do is essentially the fastest way you can get better at something. You'll just learn so much from watching these people play at the skill level they are. Just putting yourself in that position to watch and understand, and actually in this case be directly coached on how to get better. That's really the best way to get better at something, not just Warzone but anything in life. So actually using this service is super simple. The first time you get on here, they'll have you select a game, log in. When you log in the first time, you'll select what platform you're on, whether it's PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and where you are in the world as well. And the reason they do that is because they want to pair you up with somebody that's on the same platform ideally, and in a nearby location for ping reasons and things like that. You can select what level of pro you want. These have different costs. Basically, it's how experienced they are, how long they've been on the platform, things like that. I actually got the chance to try this service out before I worked with Legionfarm, and I got to play with Yagis. He was a 4.7 KD player from Turkey. He was a blast to play with, great comms. He actually taught me some things, even though I have 50 days playtime. So obviously, no matter what skill level you are, you can always improve. And something I should mention about this service is it's completely on demand, so it doesn't matter what time of day it is or where you are in the world. They always have people that are ready to play with you that are just fantastic players. There's 9 people here recommended for me right now at 2 a.m. in San Diego. So these people all have 5 KDs. It's a really cool service, and genuinely this is probably the best way to get better at Warzone, is to play with people that are better than you and learn from them. So if you're interested in that, remember promo code TrueGameData. I will link the special promo code down below in the video description as well as a pinned comment. And thank you, Legionfarm, for sponsoring this video. All right, so I've gathered all the base stats for the EM2 as well as attachment stats for everything except all the mags. I have the 40 round mag and the 50 round mag because I think those are going to be the two best options for this gun. I don't see a whole lot of reason to use the 45 round fast mag if it's going to kill your ADS and only gives you 5 more bullets than the 40 round mag, which doesn't even hurt your ADS at all. So all that's up on the site. All the base stats are up on the site. The only base stat I don't have yet is strafe speed. I have to do something very specific for that, so I just don't have that stat yet, but everything else is up to date on there. So let's cover the base stats real fast. It has 533 round RPM. That is the slowest pretty much of all the popular ARs right now. I've included C58, Farah, Krig, and QBZ. I think those are the 4 top ARs right now. So it's slightly slower RPM even than the C58, so that's a good thing to compare it to. I think those two guns are going to feel very similar to a lot of people. I think the EM2 has more recoil, but the C58 doesn't kill quite as fast, as we'll see when we get into the TTK charts. So ADS time, The EM2 looks terrible because it's 408 milliseconds here base, but that's because it has that like 3x optic built in. If you replace that with a red dot sight, which is essentially the same as like iron sight ADS times, it brings it down to a little over 300 milliseconds. So it's really not that bad. It's very similar to C58 in terms of actual ADS when you have an optic on there. That's the same for both. Sprint to fire is going to be standard AR sprint to fire. Movement speed, it has very slow movement speed. It's kind of a heavier gun. It's more like an LMG. So 4.7 meters per second movement speed, pretty slow. Surprisingly, it does have pretty fast ADS movement speed. So 2.4, it's actually faster than the C58 and faster than the FARA as well. Obviously, the QBZ is super fast movement and ADS movement. So it's still quite a bit faster than the EM2, and then the Krig's also a little bit faster. Bullet velocity, same as the other ARs, of course. Reload time has a good reload time, down at 2 seconds. It's about the same as C58. Default mag's only 20, but again, it shoots a little slower than C58, so the bullets go a little bit further in terms of total damage output. We'll look at damage per mag charts so you can see how that works out. But base stats wise, it looks okay. It is a little slower, a little heavier, but like I said, we'll get into TTKs and you'll see that it still looks like a pretty good gun. Alright, so this is the first video I've featured this in. This is going to be an advanced feature coming to the site in the future. Basically, what this is a TTK chart. It doesn't show any of the information on here yet because the front end isn't built out, but I've finished all the back end for this that does all the calculations and everything. Basically, this will allow you to input percentages for shot locations. So if you were following my Twitter earlier tonight, I had a bunch of people send me their data from Black Ops Cold War for shot location percentages for different weapons, and the assault rifles came out very consistent. I think it was something like 13% headshot, 35% chest shot, 13% stomach shot, and then 40% extremities. It was something like that. We'll see the exact numbers in a second. But basically what this program I've written does is it'll take those percentages and it will find the nearest possible value to that in each damage range that will still equal a kill at the selected health value, and then calculate a TTK based on those percentages. So it's pretty advanced. It actually spits out a real TTK that can happen in the game. I didn't want to just take, you know, the TTK value of each individual shot location and then average those together, because that doesn't mean anything. That's not a real number that you could ever get in the game. DPS values, yes, you can just do the multiples of the percentage of shot locations and get the average DPS, and that works. But TTKs, you'll never get a real TTK doing that. So I wrote a pretty fancy program that actually will do that, and we'll go through the actual percentages and see how that all works out. But you can see here, using those percentages I just mentioned, and yes, I know Black Ops Cold War is not going to be the same as Warzone, but we don't have any of that data for Warzone, so I figured it would be better to use those numbers than just to literally completely guess on what people hit in Warzone. So I used the assault rifle percentages from Black Ops Cold War that I got over, it was probably 15 to 20 different trials from people. And like I said, it was really consistent, like literally within plus or minus 5% in each shot location across the board. There was never anything outside that. So it was really interesting to me across inputs, so mouse and keyboard and controller. For the assault rifles, super consistent percentages for shot locations. So I felt like it was at least better than just totally guessing what people hit in Warzone to use those percentages for this comparison. So no longer will I be doing, you know, headshot comparison, chest shot comparison, stomach comparison, extremities comparison. I'll be doing that overall comparison for the average percentages that I know from Black Ops Cold War for that type of weapon. It's very different for SMGs, very different for ARs, just because of the way they're played. So you can see on here, we got C58, FARA, Krig, QBZ, EM2 again, and with these percentages, the EM2 has the fastest time to kill out to 26 meters by a pretty significant amount, about 50 milliseconds. And this is, again, this is using those percentages. So this will have like 1 headshot, you know, 3 chest shots, 1 body shot, 4 extremity shots, or something like that. Just roughly, it uses those real numbers of shots to kill to equal a kill. So I'll go through the percentages in a second, like I said, but I just want to make sure everyone understands that. FARA is the second fastest in that first damage range, followed by the QBZ, which they're almost identical, basically the same. C58 and Krig are the same in that first damage drop off, but then the C58 actually doesn't, using those percentages, doesn't actually change the TTK out at range. So at the long range, the C58 actually takes over the EM2 by a little bit again, but the EM2 is dramatically faster, almost 100 milliseconds faster in that first damage range. So that brings it into a more like versatile kind of weapon, where it's really good up close, but it's also good at range. Alright, so I wanted to go through this advanced TTK calculator and show you guys how well it actually works and how close it gets to the target percentages. So these are the actual target percentages I got from people that sent me their numbers from Black Ops Cold War. Again, I know that's not perfect, but I just felt like it was better than guessing entirely in Warzone. I think it's probably still relatively accurate for Warzone, Big difference would be time to kill is longer in Warzone, and obviously the range of your engagements is longer in Warzone as well. So it's not perfect, but I think it's a decent baseline. We don't have those numbers for Warzone, so I'm just using those to go off of. So basically what I did on this chart was I spit out all the numbers that the algorithm that I wrote actually calculates, and we can see the average percentage off of those targets. So the target was 13% head, 34 chest, 13 stomach, 40 extremities. So the EM2 in the first range, the algorithm trying to match these as close as possible, got 17%, 33%, 17%, 33%. So obviously 1 shot head, 2 shot chest, 1 shot stomach, 2 shots extremities. So the average percentage difference there is only 3.7%. It's 4% off on the first one, 1% off on the second, 4% off on the third, 7% off on the fourth. And then in the second damage range, same exact methodology. It gets 14% head, 29% chest, 14% stomach, 43% extremities. So that's one headshot, 2 chest shots, 1 stomach shot, and then 4 extremity shots. And that comes out to an average difference of 2.8%. I'm not going to read through all these, but if we just look at these average difference percentages, 2.7%, 5%, 2.3%, 5%. The most off my algorithm was anywhere on average for each shot location was 5% on the FARA and the QBZ. So it's actually working really, really well, and it's going to give you these really, really realistic TTKs that we just couldn't really wrap our heads around before. We could look at, chest forgiveness and, headshot reducing the TTK based on how many headshots it takes to reduce that TTK. But I think this percentage-based thing, as long as we can get relatively realistic percentages input into my TTK calculator, we're going to get some really, really good advanced numbers that we've never had access to before, and it's going to show a completely new picture of which guns are the best. So I'm very excited about this. I'm really excited about how well it's working too. The numbers come out great every time. So hopefully we'll be releasing this sometime relatively soon. This is probably going to be a premium feature. So again, most of you understand I'm trying to start a business, so obviously we need revenue. I mean, everything that you use in your life, you pay for pretty much. So these advanced features will be paid, hopefully, if we can get it all figured out. I don't know how long that's going to take. Obviously, my end of things are working, but we have to get all the payment stuff set up and all the front end built out for all this, and there's a lot of work to do there. So we'll see how long that takes. But for now, the information will be in my videos. I'll start using this in all my videos. And then this is the DPS comparison. And again, this is the weighted DPS using those percentages that we got from Black Ops Cold War from a bunch of different people. So looking at DPS, this is directly just multiplying each shot location by the percentage of bullets hit there. So this is a really good thing to look at as well. Gives you just an overall view of how a gun's going to perform given any enemy health values. So you can see the FARA and the EM2 have extremely similar DPS values, like within like a couple DPS at all ranges. So they feel very, very similar in terms of DPS, but obviously the FARA shoots a lot faster. C58's next up down here is about 25 damage per second slower, and then about 25 damage per second slower at range again. And then the QBZ and the Krig are very, very similar as well. Down there, about 40 damage per second slower than the EM2 and the FARA. So the new damage per mag charts that I've programmed into the website, again, these is all features that are coming soon. They're not available to the public yet, but these are coming soon. These also use that weighted percentages. So these are the exact same percentages of the TTK chart and the DPS charts we just looked at, only it's for damage per mag. So I've put what I think are the most common magazines on each one of these weapons. C58, 45 round. I feel like that's totally sufficient for my use of the weapon, and I don't want to kill my ADS time, so I use the 45 round. FARA shoots faster, so I feel like it needs the 60 round. Krig, I use the 60 round. You can get away with the 45 on the Krig because it does shoot a little slower. So this one's one that maybe some people actually use the 45, especially if you're running it with like a shotgun or a Strela or something as more of an all-round gun. You're going to be using the 45 just for better ADS times. QBZ, so if you don't know, the final mag on the QBZ got nerfed. It does affect ADS times now. It was just bugged before, so it should have before, but now the final mag hurts ADS times, so you're going to want to go to the Stanag just for ADS reasons. And then the EM2, again, because it shoots slower, I feel like I can get away with 40 round mag. So on this chart, in the first damage range, it ranges from about 1800 up to a little below 2000. So they're all relatively close. It looks like they're not. We need to scale this y-axis better, like scale it to 0, so you can see that these are actually all pretty close, even though they look pretty far apart. They're all within, 180 damage per mag in the first damage range. So not a whole lot of differentiation there. And then out at range, it's even less differentiation. It's probably about 100 damage per mag different. So really not a whole lot to discuss here. They all perform similarly with the selected mags. EM2, even though it only has 40 rounds, does plenty of damage per mag to be a viable weapon. All right, a quick note on recoil. So I went in and checked a few of the optics for recoil changes just because I wanted to make sure that we didn't have any optic that kind of did to the C58, or kind of did to the EM2 what that 4X used to do to the C58, where the C58 had like no recoil with the 4X. So on the left here, this is the EM2 with a default reticle. Then the Microflex LED, so that's a 1X optic, so basically like iron sights. And then the Axial 3X, and then the 4X. So you can see, as expected, the zoom default scope has slight recoil reduction, just like the Axial 3X and the 4X. And then the Microflex, which in the past, the regular 1X optics have not had any effect on recoil. You can see it has slightly more recoil than these higher zoom optics, which is exactly what you would expect. And the 4X does not have any crazy properties, so nothing unique there. And then here I just did a comparison between the C58 and the EM2 because we know what the C58 feels like in terms of recoil. So the C58 meta builds on the left, and the EM2 meta builds on the right. When I say meta build, what it is agency suppressor, ranger barrel. I really like the ranger barrel because it gives you that bullet velocity, and it helps with recoil and does not hurt your ADS times like the last barrel does. So it's a really, really good barrel to use, and that's actually the one I'm going to recommend you use on this the new EM2 just because it has pretty bad ADS times, so you don't want to hurt that any more than you have to. So yeah, C58 on the left with that build, and then EM2 on the right. And this is the 40 round mag with the EM2 and the 45 round mag with C58. So the total damage per mag is very similar between these two recoil plots, which is important. You don't want to shoot, 30 bullets with one gun and then 30 bullets with another gun, and one of them shoots half as fast, so you're doing twice as much damage basically with one 30 bullet. That's not fair to compare that recoil. You want to compare basically the total damage output in the certain number of bullets, and these are very, very similar. So you can see the EM2 has quite a bit more vertical recoil than the C58, but a little bit less horizontal. It is a little wobbly, but it's really, for the most part, very straight vertical, so I don't think it's super, super important to get that horizontal recoil reduction from the last barrel. I think you can get away with using the Ranger barrel, which gives you the best bullet velocity, and some vertical recoil control help, and does not hurt your ADS time. So that's why I'm going to recommend that in my builds. But I think that covers all the base information I want to talk about. Let's go talk about some two really good recommended builds. One for main AR, and then one as a sniper support. Alright, so there's a few really good ways to build this as a sniper support. I think it's one of the top sniper supports now. It's going to be competing with like the Cold War AK. It fits in really, really similarly with that. But this is one of the builds that I think is really good for sniper support. So we've got regular suppressor. This gives us good ADS times. It does hurt our damage range, but it also does increase bullet velocity and helps the sprint to fire a little bit. Takedown barrel. The reason I suggest takedown when you use the regular suppressor is because it just increases that damage range by quite a bit. Actually more than this regular suppressor hurts it. You end up getting more damage range with that than you would have without either of these attachments. 40 round mag, again, I think it's pretty much the only option on this. I don't see any reason to use the 50 round or the 45 round just because the extra damage is not worth the massive ADS penalty. Millstop reflex, I wish this thing had iron sights, but it doesn't. The default scope is 3x, so we have to put an optic on this. So millstop helps your ADS times a ton, and obviously it's just nice to have a good optic. And then CQB pad or Raider stock. I don't have Raider stock unlocked yet, but I like CQB pad a lot because when you use the Raider, it makes your movement speed so fast. There's a lot of wobble. So if you remember the FFAR back in the day with the Raider stock, people would get used to it and could really do well with it. So I think if you want to spend time getting used to that wobble while you're strafing of the reticle, then you definitely go with the Raider. But if you just want a more controllable, more easy to use gun from the start, CQB is going to give you those really good sprint to fire times, which are really important for a sniper support. And it doesn't give you crazy fast ADS movement speed, so it's just going to feel easier to hit your shots. So I really like CQB pad. I think it's a good option. Another way to build this would be to take off the takedown barrel, put on regular agency suppressor, and then if you want better ADS times, you could either do Serpent or Airborne wrap. Airborne is going to give you a little bit more in terms of the ADS times. It's going to give you better ADS times than the Serpent, but it does have those movement speed penalties. Or you could do something like a Bruiser Grip if you want movement speed, or obviously Tiger Team Spotlight if you want movement speed. I think most people would stick with Tiger Team just because it gives a little bit better numbers, and you don't really need hipfire on this because you're already going to have pretty bad hipfire being an AR and using either the CQB or the Raider. And then the final build that I think would be really good would be this exact build, but just take Tiger Team off, put Field Agent on, and then Raider stock, which again, I don't have it yet, but you could put Raider stock on there, and this would be a really good build. Field Agent's going to make it much more accurate at range, which is nice for a sniper support because you sometimes need to take shots out to like 50 meters. And it actually hurts your ADS firing movement speed, which is what the Raider stock makes so high. So that also kind of makes it feel more controllable at range because that wobble slows down again. So it's kind of just a nice combination there. If I had this, I think this would be one of my favorite builds as well. And then as far as long range main AR goes, I think there's really not too many ways to build this. So this would be my main recommendation: Agency, Ranger, Field Agent, 40 round mag, and Axial 3X. Axial 3X dramatically reduces your ADS times over that default mag. I think it was like 60 milliseconds. It's on the site. Again, all this is up on the site now, so you can go check it out. But the Axial has much better ADS times than the default scope, so you're going to want to switch to this for sure. Even if you had the default scope and you put on an airborne elastic wrap, you're not going to get to the times that you'd have with just an Axial arm. So just switch over to the Axial. There's no reason to use the default scope. And then the other way to build this would just be slower ADS times. You just use the Task Force barrel. It's going to give you better recoil properties, but it's going to slow the gun down in terms of movement. It's going to slow the gun down in terms of ADS time, but it will make it a little bit more accurate at range. So if you have a really hard time controlling the recoil in terms of horizontal bounce or horizontal sway, then probably Task Force is the way to go. But I just think the nicer ADS times are worth it to just use the Ranger barrel. Alright guys, well I think I covered everything in this video. Got a lot of cool features coming out for the website soon. I'm really excited about that. I love working on the website. I like doing that a lot more than making YouTube videos, to be honest. That's where my passion lies. That's why I started that way before the YouTube channel. Speaking of the YouTube channel, our 1 month anniversary was 2 days ago on the 13th of August. We had 175,000 subscribers, 10 million channel views in exactly a year, which is unfathomable to me. It baffles me still to this day that the channel's had that much success. So thank you guys so much, as always. Really appreciate the support, and that's genuine. Like, I genuinely appreciate all the support that I get from everyone. So thank you so much. If you would, I'm mixing my birthday stream, the TGD 1 year anniversary stream, and the charity stream all together. We're going to try to raise as much money as we possibly can for this charity. And that's going to be going on right after this video goes live. So be sure to go over to twitch.tv/TrueGameData live for all the information about that. Watch me play some COD. I'll be playing in a tournament as well as doing the charity stream. And thanks again, Legionfarm, for helping to support the channel and support the website by sponsoring this video. Be sure to check them out. It's genuinely a good, cool service. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.